All right, we're back. Episode 8, The Hustler Circle, 3 minds, 1 mission. It's just me and Al today. Dimitri's taking care of some clients. You'll see this happen. You know, we always put our customers first. So if a client is at the bank, I'll be primarily on it. Or if it's a new client that's introduced, we take pride in ensuring that we make ourselves available, even if it temporarily impacts the podcast. But today we have a really cool topic. I know it's something myself and Al have been very focused on in measuring the market. And we're looking at the housing market. And we want to leverage this conversation to ensure that folks watching that are looking to prep their profile going into next year on the funding side get access to the right capital so that they're able to meet the expectations on what potentially the market's going to give them. Right. So if it's the first time you're watching this, hit the subscribe button, comment anything in the comment section, and we'll get back to you. But appreciate that because it helps us create more content like this. All right, so we're going to jump right in. So I'm going to provide a couple of data points that I've been researching in the last couple months, and this will help drive some awareness, and then we can just piggyback off of that. So D.R. Horton's, which is the #1 new home builder in the entire United States, they build 80% of the new homes on an annual basis, just had their earnings call about 10 days ago. And in that earnings call, there were a lot of cool metrics that is going to give you an insight into potentially a bleak situation that we're walking into. Cancellation rate for the last quarter, heading into this quarterly update, has jumped up to 27%, which that means 1 in every 4 home buyers are pulling back from going forward with purchasing a home. The other, and that's even more astonishing when each of those buyers have had the highest incentives offered. And that's looking at around an average of $40K in incentives and lowering interest rates guaranteed by the builder versus, so that means your cash outlay is $40K lower than it was 12 months ago. On top of that, also, they've let go about 27,000 employees and this is all in the last 15 days. When you're looking at that in the last 30 days alone, the primary markets, which are like Miami, Atlanta, Dallas, Austin, and some cities in the West Coast, the actual new home inventory has surged above 97%, which is unheard of in the last 4 years. That just shows you that of those 97% of homes that came into market, 42% of those have had decreases in their new listing price. So that means they came into market, hey, we're selling this house, and within the first 30 days, they're already decreasing on an average of 42%. Jesus. Which is crazy. That's giving you the perspective and the lens of which this conversation is going to piggyback off of. Housing, new inventory is going up, whether it's new or used, and the median average price is down 5.2% in the last 90 days. So not only are more houses going into market, which creates the lack of demand, but that prices of those homes are decreasing at a higher propensity than they have been historically. So we're coming at a head in an opportunity here where folks who have waited because they didn't want to buy a house and pay 8-9% interest are probably going to be in the most prime position if their profile set the right way. So let's jump into today's topic, and leverage some of this nuggets and details. So Alex, I want to get your perspective on like what you think, just hearing these numbers, the potential is for folks listening in that are looking to invest into property going into next year, or are potentially trying to prep their profile to purchase their first property and have tried for the last 5 years, but the prices have been crazy.
Yeah, buying a home is the biggest purchase of your life. It's definitely not easy. You have to qualify, you have to have the taxes, you have to have the down payment, the closing costs. In my history in the financial sector in the last 8 years, I think that the best time to buy a home is going to be coming now. I think the best time to buy a home before this was 2020 when they had the 2 and 3% interest rates. I don't think we're going to see that again. Yeah. But I do think that the median price of, the houses across America, and as you already reported that fact, the prices are gonna come down drastically. I think I've been saying this for the last couple of years, and the reason why I think that's gonna happen is because they gave away too many mortgages with such high interest rates. They gave away too many car payments with such high interest rates. They probably gave away a lot of Rolex watches at Mayors at really high interest rates. And everybody said, yeah, sign. You know, the pressure of wanting to make your spouse happy or live in that bigger house or drive that nicer car can sometimes lead to, you know, a financial disaster in your house. And I think that when you combine those high interest rates, you combine them with 4 years of massive inflation, you're going to start seeing what we're seeing now, which is people have to choose whether they want to, you know, buy food and put food on the table at the grocery store, or if they want to pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
That's really what it's coming down to. You know, you're going to have to decide on the totem pole. First is going to be your credit cards. People are going to stop paying their credit cards first.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic. They're going to stop paying their credit cards. Then they stop paying their cars. The last thing usually is the mortgage because, you know, you need a roof over your head. I don't know what Trump is going to do to circumvent this chaos that's, you know, on the way in. I'm sure he has a couple things up his sleeve, but yeah, what better time to buy a property for you and your loved ones than in the next couple months, you know, with the way that things are starting to line up.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that right now is the time, and we've been saying it on all these podcasts, right now is the time for anybody listening at home. You don't have to be a business owner. You know, this podcast is not just for business owners. It's for people that want to be business owners, for people that want to be in the financial industry but keep their day job but know how to invest and how to get loans and money from the banks. And I've been saying this on almost every episode. Get your credit right. It all starts with your credit. Get your credit right now. So that way, when the houses collapse, if they come down, you know, 40, 50%, which I don't think is going to happen, maybe 20 to 30, 40% is realistic. But either way, that's a great amount of money to save on considering what the housing market has been the last 4 years. Have your credit right. Have your tax returns right. Have your P&L right. Have your bank statements right, so that when the time is ready and the time comes for you to be able to buy an investment property or buy that house for you and your loved ones, you have a $150,000 line of credit, you know, to add to your $100,000 in cash.
Yeah.
You have your $120,000 and 0% interest credit cards to do the floors and buy the fridge and get the new AC unit that your wife is going to want. So be ready so you don't have to get ready. You know, it's just all about being proactive. I always say that in every podcast, be proactive. Don't wait for the investment opportunity to present itself for you to then scramble and call your father-in-law and say, hey, lend me $100,000. You know, have your $100,000 ready.
Yeah. And I think that's the component that, you know, we try to preach, the proactivity in the investment opportunity. Everybody has to treat, you know, these ebbs and flows in standard markets. Like real estate is a 30-year game, right? And we talk about this all the time, that we live in a society that it's a visual society. Everybody wants to have the best car, wants to have the nicest watches, wants to have a property that maybe is above their means and their family lifestyle. And that breeds the potential for high debt, right? Yeah. And I'm not trying to, this podcast is not to scare anybody, but it's to set a realistic expectation that you can benefit from others' demise or others' decisions to go outside of their means, because now it's going to, you know, markets course correct.
Yep.
You saw this in crypto in the last 4 years. You had during COVID this boom in crypto, and then you saw a correction. But now you're seeing the reverse of the correction, which is what? Now the upside, because when primary markets, gold, traditional currencies, investment opportunities in the traditional stock market start tinkering, people want to invest in the next thing that they can guarantee they're going to see a return. So that's the approach that we want our customers to and our listeners to see, is make a decision, but you got to stick with that decision all the way to the bottom of the ocean.
Right.
Whether you're in a submarine and you can survive it, or it's an opportunity that you learn from. Either way, there's so many things that we're going to take out of this today. The first is prep your profile. The second is, if it's your first investment property, and this is it's now time that you have the cash, you've waited, and now you want to invest in something that is outside of your primary home, it's really important to do the research on which markets are the right places to invest. I get reached out to, you get reached out to by all these like low income housing, buy properties in like Alabama, and then like the government will pay. Those are all great ideas, but we also have to be realistic. How much time do we have? And can we go out there to make sure that that property is being managed properly and all those things? So with this news, my biggest component and one of the biggest takeaways I take is not only are the prices dropping, but we're seeing interest start to, drop to normal levels pre-COVID.
Yeah.
4 to 5.5% is a normal rate. Like
very
before,
normal.
And people are like, "Oh my God, I want it to be 2-3%." I'm like you would have to have another market issue like COVID
Disaster.
But like, I don't even think it'll ever get back to that because the banks and the government lost so much money in lowering those rates to try to stimulate. And then here we are, because of that stimulation, you had the reverse happen, which is like prices went up because demand was so high, but the interest rates were low. Yeah, you got a great interest rate, but you've overpaid for a house by $300,000.
That's a great point. And something to add to that is we've never seen both of those things come down at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a real estate specialist or, a real estate, Wikipedia. I don't know the charts and the, 1900s to now, but I do know that I've never seen interest rates drops and the average house of pricing drop at the same time.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a first time in history that this could be happening. So again, like, and this goes for me and this goes for you. This goes for us, like as partners. We were just having a conversation before this podcast where we're like, okay, let's start putting together $300,000-$400,000. Yeah. Why? What is Alex and Chris going to do with $300,000-$400,000? And obviously Dimitri is not here. We're going to start buying investment properties and put the money to work for us. Everything is numbers. If you know how to borrow $200,000 from the bank and your first year is 0% interest, right? And you know that you rent the house out at a positive of $1,500 a month, but you make $30,000 in cash over here in this business. Yeah, you'll be in the negative for a little bit with the house, but the tenant's going to pay your rent. So you come back 10 or 15 years from then and you look back and you refinance the property, you pull that money out tax-free.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Like no-brainer. So, we always talk about the portfolio. I don't think that all your money should be in real estate. It's not my thing. Again, we're not able to give any investment advice here. That's not what this show's for. But what better opportunity to add, 30, 40% to your portfolio in real estate than in the next few months? Yeah. With this new presidency coming in, they're going to shock the country. They're going to do things to stimulate the economy. You got to have your credit ready. It all falls down to your credit, everyone.
Yeah. And I'm like, the biggest component, besides the opportunity on the real estate side is just in general for any idea, business idea, investment opportunity. When the iron is the hottest is when you strike. And a lot of folks that watch content like this wait till someone tells them 14 times before they react. Here we're telling you is like, get everything ready because we're going to be sharing some things that we're seeing in certain markets. That's, not to take that, full disclosure as like an investment, advice. It's just what we do. We practice everything we preach. If I go out and do something with our clients, for example, when we get them funded, I've done that for our businesses. I understand the workflow. I understand what's the net positive to the business and what's the return on investment when you invest that properly.
Right.
That's it. So with that said, I also think the inverse is also interesting. It's like we do have potentially folks that are watching that are concerned now that they've purchased a property in the last 2 years. And they're like, man, what do I do? Like, should I figure out like how to sell right now? And, my feedback to them is no, like these are ebbs and flows, right? Like you're going to go through these cyclical items and I would look at them through 10-year chunks. Yes, it's a 30-year mortgage, but look at it through 10-year chunks. Any investment you make that you physically can't sit on for 10 years, you shouldn't be making that investment.
Yeah, I agree. And not only that, like everything is a cycle. We both can agree on that. You're more of like a stocks kind of guy. I'm more of like crypto. And you have a lot of intimate knowledge over there. You've worked with big, Fortune 500 corporate companies. I've done small businesses and I'm like the opposite, right? So it's cool. We have that balance. And one thing that we can both agree on is that everything is a cycle.
Yeah.
The housing market is a cycle. Crypto, massive cycle. Stock market, it's a cycle. So you look to like and I invest in crypto, right? Like you look at the last bull run, right? The last time that crypto was in everybody's tongue and everybody was buying it and everybody was trading it and whatever the case may be. I think the price went up to like 66,000. Everybody was buying in and buying in and buying in and buying in. And then the price from Bitcoin went from 66,000 to 16,000. And everybody was like, no, it's a scam. It's this, it's that. That was the time to buy.
Yeah.
When it was 16,000. The time to buy was not 66,000 when everybody was talking about it. So the point I'm trying to make to you is now that the housing market, everybody's like sell, 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 sell. And so let's go back. 2008. What was it that really, what was the tipping point of 2008? The tipping point of 2008 was the first house on the block went for sale for 500,000. The second guy said, hey, he's selling for 500. I'm going to put mine for 490. The next guy said 480. And then by the time you got to the end of the street, we were at 300,000. It was a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
So again, the time to invest, and this is my opinion, the time to invest is not when everybody's buying. The time to invest and buy is when everybody's selling and everybody's scared and there's blood on the streets. That's how people get rich.
Yeah.
People don't get rich investing what everybody else is investing in. Like the people who got rich off Apple, they didn't buy Apple in 2015 when everybody had already bought it. They bought Apple in
95.
the 90s. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So me personally, I think this is going to be a very exciting time for entrepreneurs. This is going to be an exciting time for people that have a small job. For example, at USPS, you're trying to escape your USPS job, or you want to add some income to your portfolio and you're like, hey, USPS isn't enough. I want to make an extra couple thousand a month. What better opportunity than real estate? But again, it goes back to your foundation, which is what is your credit?
Exactly.
The banks are not going to want to work with you and give you money if you don't have good credit. So it just always falls back on that, right? It's like, what is your, and don't go and buy an investment property if you don't have your credit right. Because that means if you don't have your credit right, you're financially not sound. If you're financially not sound, you probably shouldn't be doing any investing. Let's get financially sound. Let's get organized. Let's know what our real income is, where we're losing money, what's our spending habits, and then invest.
Yeah. And I think, so 3 things that I want to make sure, our listeners, what does good credit mean? You want to have a credit score above 750 across all 3 bureaus. That means no derogatories, no late payments. Make sure that your utilization is on point. The second piece is ensure that your addresses match. I'm telling you, like, these are the petty things that banks deny loans for. Make sure that you don't have an address in a P.O. box or an old house that you used to stay in. Those 2 things core. And then ensure that you have the right amount of trade lines. Trade lines, I mean, revolving sources of credit cards. And if you have cars, paid off personal loans, you want to have a good mix of all 3 to ensure that you are lendable to the bank. Those are the 3 things that I want to make sure you leave at least this conversation with if you want to make sure your credit is right. Then now, if you're looking to start a business to then invest in crypto, the housing market, et cetera, ensure that you are doing this by following our page and seeing some of the recommendations we give on other episodes as well. Is the business has to be in a great name strategy. So ensure that it's my name is Chris. I'll do Chris Ventures LLC. Significantly better than Chris Crypto Investments LLC or Chris House Purchasing and Remodel LLC. I'm like, you'd be surprised. We laugh because some of the names and these businesses are doing $300,000-$400,000 a month. They can't even get a loan because they literally call themselves crypto investment, hedge fund. Yeah. 3 negative names in one name. And I'm like, and I can't get them any funding because it's super risk to the bank and they're not legally allowed to. So, comport the business strategy to the right naming conventions, and it'll get you further ahead in this specific time frame. Now, you got the credit, you potentially set up your business properly. Now it's like, how do I even start? You can do it yourself, and we tell clients all the time, go ahead, try to get the funding, or you can, listen to folks like us and get some of the recommendations, or just reach out to us and we're happy to help in that scenario. Because the time it's a very small window of time where you can strike while the iron's hot again, like I mentioned earlier.
I mean, I always tell my clients, we're architects. Really, we really are. You tell me the house you need to build, meaning your business, how much money you need to build the house, what the windows need to look like, what the paint needs to look like, and we put it together. That's what we charge our clients for. Is, hey, you need to get $200,000 in funding. What's the best way for us to get you that funding at the lowest interest rates to give your business that runway to succeed? We're not just like, hey, this guy gets me money. No, we're a consulting agency. We're analyzing your finances, your business, your needs, your profitability, and we're helping you get there. We're not just helping people get money so that they can, blow the money at a strip club or, some other place. Like we're sitting down, we're analyzing, we're taking data points from you. We're helping you meet that goal that you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
So it's fun. This is a great business to be in.
No, look, and not only do I agree, but we see the benefits that folks who have heeded our recommendations are right now in a position where they're scaling their business, or they've actually purchased in the last 6 months in this kind of like ebb and flow of housing market pricing, et cetera. And they've been able to make the investment to flip the house in 6 months.
Right.
Because they're purchasing everything on their business card that's 0%. And all they need is that cap space, like you mentioned. Like you buy a property, the heaviest expense besides the down payment is whatever you need to get moving ready.
Right.
So like a lot of these properties, some of them are run down, and I'm like, you're going to get them at like dirt cheap. But you're going to have to put in $100K, $150K to fix the bathrooms, maybe get the kitchen that your wife or your significant other wants. And you either can make that decision now or wait 3-4 years while you save up all the money. I'd rather do it now because then the home value increases and you feel more confident owning that property.
Well, a good example of, someone that we just got funded is a neighbor of mine. He owns a painting company, and him and his wife, they bought a house. And, they emptied the tank buying the house. They didn't have, this immense bank account with $200,000-$300,000 in it. These are small business owners, everyday working hard American people. And they had around $60,000 saved. They bought their house. You know the story.
Yeah.
They bought their house. But while I was talking to him, I'm like, man, you got to be very careful. You're emptying your whole tank to buy this house. You could move in, and in 3 hours, the roof collapses, the fridge breaks, the toilet,
and the sewer system messes
whatever.
up. Yeah.
Anything can happen as a homeowner. You don't want to empty the whole tank to buy the home and then have nothing left when you move in, because there's one statement I heard, and I feel like it's the truest thing I've ever heard. Any house you buy, you, or especially your wife, is going to want to do upgrades.
Yeah.
Whether it be the tile, or you want to go from marble floor to granite, or you want to go from white paint to black paint, or you want the new Sub-Zero fridge. There's always upgrades, and you don't want to feel tight up to your neck,
Yeah.
Not being able to do those things. So funding is a great way to have that backup plan for when you buy your property, you don't feel like you're suffocating.
Yeah.
So, and it's, again, these are all things, like Chris said earlier, that these are things that we do. I'm getting ready to buy a property, and I am going to have a $50,000 no interest credit card from Chase literally sitting there whether I use it or not, it will be sitting there in the case of an emergency. I need to do upgrades. I need to do this. I need to do that, whatever it is.
Yeah, and all that is also beneficial to the business, right? So if is an investment property and you're, remodeling, et cetera, the debt becomes a powerful instrument in your business aspect as well, which is a complete difference from a personal. Like we tell our clients, make sure your revolving debt is under 6%. And when we get them the funding, the historical context behind it is that a lot of our clients put everything on their personal card. I want to get the points, yada, yada, I don't care. And I'm like, they're not only are they up to their neck in interest rates, but they're also up to their neck because their credit score just tanked like 200 points because they have 90% utilization when they know they're going to pay it off. But you could have shifted that spend towards the business and now free up the cap space on your personal credit so you can always do what you need to do.
Right.
Change your, like, for example, we have clients, I'm getting funded. They're about to start the funding process after we got their profile ready. Oh, my wife's car's lease is up. And I'm like, are you like, really? You didn't remember? Yeah. I'm like, well, luckily we got your credit up to 800. Yeah. You're going to get the best rate, but that could have an impact. But those are the things where if everything was on their personal credit, that lease payment would be at least $400 higher.
Right.
Because they're in the 600s. And I'm like, they'll still get it. They'll be paying the worst rates whatsoever. And that's the component that I want to, kind of like make sure that our clients are constantly thinking of. Our job is to ensure that we provide the best guidance, but that their credit profile is always ready.
Always.
Always. And I'm like, and it's as easy as changing where you spend and how you spend it, and ensure that your business is capturing all the expenses that are business oriented. I'm like, we're not telling you to put, your daughter's, food and purchasing of toys, all that stuff on the business. No, of course not. But there are probably 90% of your expenses, your car, your gas, your insurance, because you drive to work, you have your own business, you're going to client meetings, all those stuff should be on the business.
Right.
Period. And
I mean, technically you can kind of like put anything on your business. Like you can put if you really wanted to, you could put a Rolex watch on your business.
Yeah.
And this is verified from my accountant. And the reason why you can do that is because what's to say you didn't need a Rolex watch to go to nice dinners with clients to potentially close big deals.
Exactly.
So, and I think we spoke about the power of having a good accountant in the last podcast.
Yeah.
And it even ties into this podcast, which is like, you go to buy a property, an investment property, or you go to buy a home, you need to have a good accountant on your side that can help you circumvent paying those unnecessary taxes to the government that, nobody really wants to opt in for.
Yeah.
So having a good accountant is a major plus.
Yeah, agreed. So look, if there are three things you can take from this podcast today, is the first, the housing market is due for some type of volatility and something we probably haven't seen in at least 12 years at the minimum, which those watching, you have to be ready. Profile needs to be prepped. The second part is your credit score. I'm like, we're going to hit this every episode, needs to always be on point. How, and for your specific use case, comment, we'll personally reach out on that piece. And the third is, while we don't offer investment, advice, we offer experience-based advice that if you take it and you do it, I might just know that you have to have patience.
Yep.
And always, again, be ready for when the opportunity comes, strike while the iron's hot, because if not, you're going to be that person sitting in your living room like, man, I should have listened to Chris, or I should have listened to Al when they said, have my profile ready, because now I want to invest in something and I got to wait 6 months. And at that point, that bubble pops and you're gone.
And you're done. You missed the train.
And look, we appreciate you guys, taking the time to watch the episode. We'll be back for episode 9. And again, hit the subscribe button, comment any feedback on this video. We're always willing to make any adjustments, and we appreciate you guys watching. Cheers.